Let's start. It is a great pleasure to present our first presenter, the spirit behind the CEO of the Ophthalmology Group, Nahum Ferera, to present OIS Israel Year in Review.
Good. So thank you, Daphna. Good morning. My name is Nahum Ferera. I'm the CEO and co-founder of EyeYon Medical. But today I'm going to present in front of you in my second hat as the Israeli Ophthalmology Innovation Group co-founder. And I would like to thank my friends, the CEOs here, that provided the information that allowed me to present the data in front of you. Also, I would like to thank to MarketScope, Startup Nation Central, and Piper Sandler that prepared specific slides for you today. So yes, this is our fourth OIS. The first one was founded by Susanna, who is here, and Daphna and Robert. Unfortunately, COVID came, so we went virtual. Then in 2022, we had our first in-person meeting. Yaakov was kind enough to host us as part of IATI meeting, part of MIXI. And I'm very honored to collaborate with Professor Anat Levenstein and Dr. Daphna Langford Chaim as one of the founders of, or chairperson of OIS Israel. Again, 7th of October attack came and we had to postpone. Some of us went to duty. I'm one of them. But don't forget that Israeli tech delivers no matter what. So let's speak about the Israeli high-tech landscape. We have 7,272 Israeli companies and about 353 active investors. Although we are not in a zero interest landscape anymore, Israeli companies raised in 2023 almost $10 billion in funding. And if we look on the sector breakdown by company, we can see that healthcare consists of the largest amount of companies, where 83 companies are in the field of ophthalmology. So this is us. Let's speak about the global ophthalmic market for a second. So if we divide it by sector, we can see that the retina part consists of the largest sector, and it all the way through glaucoma surgical, which actually is the smallest one, but the fastest growing. But overall, we can say that the market of ophthalmology grew exponentially from $38.5 billion in 2018 to more than $45 billion today. 2023 was not amazing in acquisition, but we indeed had one huge acquisition of the geographic atrophy of Iveric Bio by Stellar's, almost $6 billion acquisition, a dream exit for sure. B&L were very active with several acquisitions, and we see them even investment, even partnership with Israeli companies. Where is Sanopolis? Over here. So a very interesting partnership. Zeiss were active in medical devices, acquiring the portfolio of Dork, and also have a partnership here in Israel. It was published, so I can say Precise Bio is part of it. FDA was active. We saw several interesting approvals. We have our stars here, Belkin lasers that got FDA approval, and Oasis. There are several more Israeli companies, and I'll speak about that in a moment. And before I dig into the Israeli ophthalmology landscape, I want to share with you that diagram that shows the different stages of the companies. So we start with an idea or license an idea from the hospitals or from universities, and then normally we go to preclinical trial, bench test, and in that stage, it's really too early to tell, and we have several companies here in that stage. Then when we pass to the clinical trial, when we pass to the FDA regulatory approval, then we really have meaningful clinical achievement. But the real test of the technology is where we go to the market, where we can see true advancement in patient care. And remember that, I will go back to that in a moment. So let's speak about us, the Israeli ophthalmology industry. So if we divide it by size, we can see that most of the companies are rather small, less than 10 employees. But we have some very senior companies like Visionics, companies like Notal Vision, even Orcam and Shamir Optics that consist of almost 500 employees, and in some cases even more. Let's speak about the different sectors. So the majority are medical devices. It seems that we are good in medical devices, and we also have a representative in tissue engineering, again, company like Precise Bio, and even digital health, companies like AI. And if we go by stage, and this is very interesting to see, we can see that there are companies in proof of concept, there are companies in clinical, but the majority of the company are in commercialization. So that's, if you recall back to the diagram I just showed you, that's where we give true advancement in patient care, and that is what most of us do. And I think, the fact that today we are at OIS Israel, it's the only OIS outside of the US. All of us, when we go to the innovation meeting around the world, in Asia, in Europe, in US, the presence of Israeli companies are sometimes even the majority. So it's really amazing, and we see the progress of companies going to the market. There are several companies that enter the market this year, and I'll speak about that in a moment. Let's speak about funding. That's the air we are breathing. So up to date, Israeli ophthalmology industry raised $1.7 billion, and the average total funding per company is $15 million. So most of you should feel good with your funding skills. Interesting to see that there is great partnerships with large strategic companies investing in Israel, believing in Israel, companies like B&L, Zeiss, Alcon, Santen, and even Sun Pharma. I can't disclose all the partnerships, as some of them are confidential, and I promise not to tell. But anyhow, some of them were published, some of them are, again, confidential. But there is a real trust, a real partnership with the overall industry, the global industry. Let's speak about regulation that becomes harder and harder each year. So we have 17 FDA-approved companies. We have only one PMA, so only one of us succeeded to do PMA. Any idea who is it? No, I haven't done PMA yet. I'm on my way, hopefully. That is Samsara Vision, used to call Vision Care, and their telescopic IOL, it's a PMA product. We have one 510K de novo made by Luminis, and we had 6 new FDA-approved products this year. Adom with their diagnostic device, Belkin lasers that received approval for their glaucoma treatment, very interesting device that becomes now the first-line treatment for glaucoma, a step before surgery. NeuroTrigger, a very young company that received approval very fast, and this is very interesting. This is a neurostimulation area. Kornit received their approval for the first product out of a portfolio of products they have for their Everpatch, if I recall that's the correct name, for their glaucoma shunt covering. Oasis, I think that's quite amazing because this is a pharmacological device, an extensive phase 3 trial. I remember Elad, like 4 years ago, telling me the amount of patients he needed to do, of course, several hundreds. And I said, wow, it's too much. And he said, it actually should be very easy. That we expected even almost 1,000. So this is a large phase 3 trial that succeeded and received the FDA clearance. And it will be very interesting to follow up on that. last but not least, Luminis received another approval. They have plenty of approval already. As for CE European approval, most of us have CE approval, and I think that's why we moved to the commercialization phase. Just bear in mind that once you have CE approval, you can follow up in India, you can follow up in other territories around the world, and some of us already operating there, companies like, Hanita, the distributing IOL all the way from India to China, and almost half of us already passed from MDD to MDR. It's not easy, but most of us, or at least half of us, done it successfully. So before I conclude, my suggestion to you to keep an eye for is in the pharma device. I think, again, Oasis with their FDA-approved product, a treatment for presbyopia. In some cases, you actually put now drops instead of putting eyeglasses. That's quite amazing, and they got FDA approval. It will be interesting to see how they get into the market. Trazier Pharma, there was no real treatment for uveitis for almost 70 years, no approved drug, and now Trazier Pharma completed their phase 3 and got an SPA agreement with the FDA, so it will be very interesting to see how 2024 develops for Daphne and her team. Nano Drops, it's quite a small, early stage company. David Smadja, Dr. David Smadja, running that company for a long time, but actually now they got funded with strategic partnerships, so they're really going to materialize the idea, and it will be interesting to follow up on that. On the device side, so Belkin, as I mentioned, received FDA approval. They're making a lot of noise in the conventions. They got the round closed, so it will be interesting to see how 2024 develops for them. Well, here I'm a bit biased, but we in EyeYon provided the first ever endothelial synthetic implant to replace, to suggest an alternative to tissue. A huge unmet need, and we are doing our first steps in Europe, and someone told me that it's going great, so it will be interesting, I think, to follow up. Lancy Medical, that's a young company, a very unique idea of printing 3D printing of contact lens, changing the way we treat with contact lens. So the idea here is to manufacture contact lens, custom-made, in the clinic itself, and they have already a working prototype and a partnership, so it will be interesting to follow. And Sanoculis, you are all aware of that amazing device that actually leaving nothing behind when they treat glaucoma, unlike MIGS that we know made a lot of problem, also, of course, to the cornea. So they came with a drilling, interesting surgical device, and if you remember, when I presented the different sectors, the glaucoma surgical is the fastest growing one. So it will be very interesting to see how they operate in 2024 with their partnership with BNL, one of the largest ophthalmology companies in the world. So with that, I would like to conclude, and thank you for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.